Good morning, everyone. Clint with Break Down Your Barriers here. And today I want to talk about negative self-thinking can lead to destructive behavior. Now, I want to emphasize that when I'm talking about destructive behavior, I'm not just talking about like getting involved in drugs and alcohol, but it is definitely something that can come about from negative self-thought. The more that we allow ourselves to think negatively about our lives, ourselves, our situations, any aspect, what happens is that what we are projecting outward is negativity. And therefore, we tend to get involved in things that are destructive, whether that be being lazy because we don't feel like what we do is going to accomplish anything, or not pursuing our goals because we're like, I can't accomplish that. You know, we've talked about this, but it is amazing how powerful our minds are and what they can do for us and what they can do to us. You know, I didn't have a lot of self-esteem growing up. I never thought very highly of myself, even into my adult life. I never thought I was going to accomplish anything. I just thought that, hey, I'm just going to work and, we'll see what happens. But it caused me to stay stagnant, and it caused me to engage in destructive behavior. And a lot of that destructive behavior wasn't just drugs and alcohol. It was, not pushing myself when I should have. It was not believing in myself and therefore holding myself back from better opportunities in life. It caused me to make poor decisions because, my negative thought process. So it's very important that we understand that what we think is what we will show. And, if you're a negative thinker, your attitude's going to probably be negative. You're probably going to be that person that when anything arises, oh man, it's horrible, it's stupid, I hate it, I don't like it. And that kind of attitude will prevent you from moving forward in your life. I can honestly say that, from being a manager for quite a few years now, that the employees that I saw fail the most were those that had a negative thought process. And it was sad because some of these people had the best potential in the world. They were smart. They were, they had everything working in their favor, but because of the way they viewed themselves and they viewed their situations and it was just all negative, they shot themselves in the foot. And, I don't know where they're at now, but I know that a lot of them went a good paying job, took steps backwards. And let's face it, we don't need to be taking steps backwards in our lives. We want to move forward. And part of moving forward is changing the way we think, changing and taking away that negative thought and putting positive affirmations in. And I know that sounds kind of hippie, but it's the truth. And I'm not saying you're never going to have negative thoughts. I have them all the time. But it's learning how to go, nope, that's not something I want to think about, and pushing it aside and going, hey, what can I focus on that will uplift me, that will make me a better person in general? And it's not always easy. It is definitely one of those things you have to develop a habit for, you have to get skilled at, but it's worth it because you don't want to let your mind and your thought process be what's holding you back in your life and what's keeping you from happiness. And then you have the extreme, negative thoughts and negative self-thinking is because it's so constant, you start looking for something to wash it away. Guess what? Usually leads to drugs, usually leads to alcohol. If you talk to any alcoholic, any drug addict, or anybody engaged in destructive behavior, their thought process is negative. They don't view themselves right. They don't view the world right. They don't view circumstances right. And so in order to try to compensate for that negative thought process, they turn to a vice. I know because I did it. I didn't start out thinking that, oh, if I do a little drugs here, oh, hey, if I drink a beer or some, liquor here, that I would ever become addicted to it. But I became addicted to the escape that it gave me. I became addicted to, oh, I'm just feeling down, I'm depressed, or I'm stressed, or whatever. That there was that, either it was getting high, it was like, oh, I'm going to feel euphoric, or that bottle's like, hey, man, I'm not going to think about nothing. And then gradually it became more destructive, more destructive, more destructive. And to the point where, when I became a full-fledged meth addict, I got down to 145 pounds. I had destroyed every relationship I had. And I had done things that I wish I never had done. And it was all because of destructive self-thinking, negative self-thinking. And then when I got off of drugs, because it was still there, I hadn't dealt with the issue. The issue was my thought process. But I didn't want to be a drug addict, right? So I decided, oh, hey, I'll just drink. And then that progressively got worse and got worse and got worse, to the point where I almost died. And I got DUI. And just, countless other things, all because I kept filling my mind with negative self-thought. And it sucked, because I didn't want to think negatively. I didn't want to engage in destructive behaviors. I just didn't know how to escape. You have to realize that this is, again, and I've mentioned this in prior posts, but this is a tool. It's not meant to dictate your life. So when we're sitting there and all we're feeding ourselves is negative thought, only thing that's going to come out is negative. It's just the way it works. So the challenge is how do we start thinking positive? And that's not always the easiest thing, especially when you're dealing with things in life that are just not fun. Especially when you do have self-confidence issues or self-respect issues or mental issues or any of this. This kind of ties into the prior posts I've had. You've got to start learning how to replace the negative with the positive. Think about it. Maybe you're not where you want to be in your life at the moment. How are you going to get there? Thinking about how you're going to get there and then start taking the actions to get there is going to change that negative thought to a positive thought, because you're going to be more focused on achieving your goals than you are about the negative things in your life. If you're in toxic relationships, if you're engaged with toxic people, cut them out. The more that you surround yourself with positive things in life, the better your outlook's going to be, therefore the better results you're going to have. It's cliche. We all know it, but we don't practice it. And that's what we got to start doing, is practicing positive thoughts, positive affirmations. And once we start getting into that habit, it's a lot harder to fill up with negative thoughts than it is when it's already crowded with positive. And there's going to be good and bad. There's going to be highs and lows. But the point is that if you allow yourself to be consumed with negativity, you're going to get involved in some form of destructive behavior. And that takes on so many different forms. So my challenge for you today: how can you replace the negative thought process you have with a positive one? And really think about that. Because once you realize that, hey, you know what? I'm just so full of negativity. I don't want that anymore. I want to start thinking positively, so that way I can influence positive change. That's when you can start making those steps forward. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.